Do the thing. All right, epic. So you're having a getting into Custer. You see the atmosphere is quite tense in the city. There aren't many people walking about. Those horrible industry like patrolling robots are still just sort of clanking around some places. You know, people are just sort of out. People are just kind of moving around to, you know, buy shit, buy necessities and stuff. But in general, are rather quiet. The building where Inspector Keys is still in plain view. As you approach, the clerk there, recognizing you, says, the guard there, recognizing you, says, "Oh, you're, you're,
Here to
yeah,
see
then,
Keys.
right,
Aegis.
of course, yeah. I mean, I'll take you to him, but we were meaning actually, we were actually told to ask you when if we ever saw you. There was an incident where your mage and her, pointing at Azora, showed up in our prison cell, apparently, according to what witness reports.
We have a
Some
maid?
uncontrollable magic was going on. Sorry we didn't have more of a chance to get in
Right.
contact after.
Well, the prisoner you touched is recovering.
Azora. Well, never mind.
Uh, in any case, yes, I'll take you to see him right away.
Azora does say to you know, to Quorum, like, Kira, if you want to see your family before we do this, would probably be best to do that now.
Yeah, I'll go talk to him in line. All right, so yeah, leading you up to Inspector Keys' office. Yeah, you're welcomed in, and Inspector Keys greets you and says, "So, you've got news then?"
Quite a fair
Big
bit.
news.
The more I can go over everything we learned about Keys, but I think I should cut to the chase right now. He's going to try and reactivate the giant with himself in control.
Excuse me?
Apparently he left Emberwell 2 weeks ago with the aim of splicing himself into that giant.
Holy shit.
I'm going to guess, besides the fact the war has always been hottest here, that maybe it's all been concentrated as a cover for him to move. It may sound a bit paranoid, but if he's working with Tarrant and with the League, that would give him the room to move.
See, we still don't know if he's working with Tarrant or if he's working alone and just taking advantage of the situation. That's
If he
a
gets in
crazy
control of,
move.
if he gets in control of the giant, I guess it won't really matter either way to him.
Yeah, yeah. This strikes me as him taking control. I mean, those people in Tarrant are. Well,
Even if they
they're a certain kind of way, but I don't think they wouldn't just give that guy complete control of a war machine.
So you think he's
yeah.
acting on his own? Or do you think they...
I think he's using them.
Even
Right.
if Tarrant thinks they're working together, I think Gamble at this point is pretty clearly pursuing his own ends.
Well, it's neither here nor there. All that matters is we stop him from getting to that point. All I know comes from the papers, so it might be out of date and it's not the full picture, but I'm gonna guess, but I do know that the area around the monastery is hotly contested right now.
It is, even with all those forces converging on it. Even with all those forces converging on it, clashing with each other means that the monks in the monastery are still able to hold firm and keep both sides completely away.
So, if we're gonna find Gamble, it will likely be on that battlefield.
Yeah, Let's see. Uh, he's we have a good physical description of him, but he could very well be disguising himself. If you wanted to do this, I'm assuming he'd have to. It might actually be easier for him to slip in during a big move. Hold on. There is actually a planned major offensive coming up. That will get pretty chaotic. He might make his move there, and well, I guess we'll have to try and keep an eye on him. Try and have our lookouts keep an eye out for him, and see if we can spot him out. Do you have anything? Anything you are willing to offer, or is this just information?
I'm willing to step into the battle. I'd put aside neutrality for this.
That's so. That's good to hear. You've been following him. You've been following his trail. You'd have the best knowledge, and well, I mean, technically, you've seen him. He says, pointing at Axe.
Yeah.
Me and my company came here with the intent of putting a stop to this, and yeah, we're willing to see that much through.
Right.
If we can
Well,
cut
then.
it during the offensive, we can try and cover the monastery and essentially aid in any other way we can, then we'll see to it.
Right. Oh, that's very good then. I suppose then, if you're going to be siding with us, I owe you an explanation of exactly what we would plan to do with the giant then. Custer's goal with the Clockwork Giant our stance has always been that it's far, far too dangerous to be allowed to exist. We want it destroyed. The monastery views it as a religious object. They won't let anyone near it, and Tarrant views it as rightfully theirs. Something to be used for their interests. Something that belongs to them by birthright, essentially. So we would be desecrating a religious object if you decided to join up with us.
I'll put it forward to my crew if they've got any objections, but
Religious object of mass destruction.
yeah, I'm with you on. I personally am in agreement that it needs to go. Between those two options, it's going to get desecrated either way. Either it gets turned into, well, exactly what its purpose is, or it gets stopped short. I'd rather make a few monks upset than, well, have that much blood spilt.
You and your companion are from out of country, as I understand it, and well, even Axe, right? Axe?
Yes.
What's your name? Yeah. Even you wouldn't really know much about this thing, would you?
No.
Zora shakes her head.
Right.
Wow. Wow.
There are a
Axe.
lot of archival
He was
sources.
asking all three of
Yeah.
us.
It's
There are
yeah.
we have
much.
we have archival sources on what that thing's capable of, just so you know what you may be dealing with. Old texts, accounting of its creation and of its first deployment, point towards it being a weapon the likes of which we have never seen. It is known to be. There are accounts of it being able to cause craters several times the size of this city. It's capable of rapid movement. It's once it gets out, it can. It's been. There's an old legend that there used to be a mountain that doesn't exist anymore because of it. It's a destructive power that not even Emberwell has ever been able to think of a way to match.
So if that turns on, we're at a severe. We're fucked.
That's one way to look at it.
How fucked?
I would hope that if it were turned on, there would still be a way to destroy it. But that's, well, that would have to be found out in the moment, and who knows how much damage it could do in the meantime.
Hmm. Okay. So, when's this major offensive happening? How long do we have to prepare?
You have 1 week.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Okay.
Whole
We're-
a whole 3 days.
I'm going to 3 days. I'm going to. I'll be speak. I'll talk up. I'll go meet with our the nobility and talk to the generals. See if we're gonna try and I'm gonna see if we can't modify the planned defensive to create a cover for you to make some kind of move to get to the monastery yourself. And if they're going to use the offensive as a uh, as a cover for, if Gamble's going to use the offensive as a cover to sneak into the monastery by himself, might as well you might as well take the same route.
May as
And
well.
meanwhile, we're going to have our lookouts. We're all going to feed this information to the lookouts to take stock of the Terran army to see if they can't spot him. Long shot, but might be able to.
Yeah.
Meantime, you prepare as you will.
The best way to resolve this would be before it happens, but all else fails.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go and talk to my crew then.
Right.
Good thing they've got time to decide what they're doing.
You do that. This war is probably going to end in a week.
Old war. Oh yeah, that thing everyone doing.
So, well, that does give us much more time
Yeah.
to prepare.
And it is nighttime out as well at this point. So
Yeah. Aegis does just kind of roll call everyone for
yeah.
a meeting in the nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of touches on. Right. So I spoke with Keys, and this is essentially one last call for if you don't want to come along on the mission ahead. Let me explain. We will be working with the Confederacy military in a move against the League and Tarrant. They're going to attempt to destroy the Clockwork Giant before it's activated. That thing is a religious object, and I imagine some of us may have an issue taking up arms against it, but as for me, I consider it a fact that Tarrant is going to try and activate it. Either way, it's going to be desecrated. It may as well not kill anyone before it's gone.
Do we really have to turn it over to destruction? Nostrea just speaks up, just looking a little distraught.
It's gonna be kept in rest until someone does it.
Well, that's what the monks do, don't they?
I suppose
Who
so.
knows? Maybe the monks will be able to stop Gamble before we even have to do anything. But
Yeah. Lotus.
if it comes to it, given the choice between Gamble taking control of it or destroying it, I can't speak for the rest of you, but I've committed worse sacrilege already in my life.
Lotus says, if we were to make our way into the monastery, perhaps we could attempt into the monastery. If they lead a monastic life, anything like the ones I've known, hopefully, one, if we were to make it inside, they might actually be willing to talk to us.
Might be worth trying. I've offered our services as to come along to the battle in a week to make sure that Gamble doesn't make his move, doesn't make it successfully. But if we could contact the monks, then they could be on the lookout, better prepared, and we could maybe assist them. It'd be better to have them on our side than not.
I don't imagine they'd be keen to be on our side if our plan is to destroy their monastery, though.
But we could be their way to make sure it's not destroyed. If they agree to aid us, we're working with the Confederacy. We could put the word in. Make it known that they don't want. Make it known that they're going to cooperate, and that they. With that in mind, maybe the Confederacy will look the other way.
The actions of the monks of the Giants Monastery have always been to keep it dormant, to keep it in its single position, never moving. Could be that they would find using it as a weapon, using it for destructive purposes is more offensive than attempting to deactivate it. Perhaps there's a way to render it inoperable that they might find amenable.
We can hope.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
think it would be wise to try and get to them now then, before? Rather than waiting to approach it at the same time as Gamble?
That
And
monastery
Azora
is
sort of starts saying that, looking at, Lotus, but like turning, as she says that, turning to look to Aegis for his.
that monastery is impregnable. You hear Jailbird just speak up. I actually knew some people who tried to get in once before the war started. They're ridiculous.
When you say ridiculous, just no openings whatsoever, or the monks fought them off, or
The monks have an almost omniscience when it comes to what's going on right outside the temple. They're right there, fending them off, leaving no openings, showing no quarter. Quite frankly, I mean, I guess with the chaos of a few gigantic explosions and an actual war right at the gates, there might be an opening to slip in. That would be the only time I imagine anyone could get in.
when you say showing no
You
quarter,
don't think there'd be any way to converse with them?
Well, they do always the guys I knew when they tried to get in, the first thing the monks did was shout at them to turn back, and then when they didn't listen, the monks took aim to shove them away, keep them from physically even being able to touch the monastery. And after a few hours of siege, they turned around and just walked. The monks didn't actually turn to lethal options for them, but they've killed before.
but they do talk.
Yeah, well, Lotus nods and says, "From what I've heard, they prefer to not kill. So they'll escalate from warning to physical restraint to lethal force if the threat is great enough. That's a typical monastic way of defense."
Right. I take it that very few of us actually want that thing destroyed. But if it's to fall into Gamble's hands, then better it go. If we try and go ahead of the great push, then perhaps we could get a word in. I did agree that we would go along to the battle and aid in what way we can, so we might be overstepping our bounds to set off ahead of time. But I could tell Keys that we might have a go of it, warn the monks. But just so you know, that area is the hottest zone in the war right now. It's likely there to cover whatever plan Gamble has going. So, we'd be walking into the fray not once, but twice, if we tried to do this.
It would be best, it might be best if we went in not to take the Nowhere, though it is also an armored vehicle. That is your call.
Are you saying when we go for the battle, or are you saying...
No, if we do go ahead of the battle to try and talk to monks.
I agree with that.
I mean, you wouldn't even have to send all of us.
No, that would be
Lotus
that would be a smaller mission. That wouldn't require all of us. Probably be better if we moved as a small group anyway.
Even a small group, they might actually not. Jailbird kind of like pauses in the middle of her sentence. Huh. Actually, you do.
I have
There is a wind tunnel right above the monastery.
Oh,
You know of it?
I mean, yeah, I can see those things, like I've told you. But, well, the way to get on it would have to be climbing up the walls of this city.
And launching from there.
And then there's a matter of a descent downwards.
Well, we
Well-
should be able to.
They've never had to deal with that, to my knowledge. They might not actually have an answer to that.
Alright, let's...
Still, they would probably interpret, if we came gliding down on our wings, they would probably interpret that more hostily if we just approached them on foot and tried to talk first.
I'd rather take
Still,
my
it's
chances
worth-
with... I'd rather take my chances with a few annoyed monks than an entire battlefield and then a few annoyed monks.
So you want to fly?
I don't want to, but it does seem like a better option.
You haven't seen the modifications we had made on the Nowhere when
What-
we were in Emberwell.
What modifications?
Good ones.
Besides, didn't you just say we weren't taking this?
Well, if we were to take the wind tunnels,
The Nowhere can fly now.
well, it can glide.
Yeah. While you weren't looking, we went ahead and gave this thing the ability to sprout wings.
And a sail.
Did-
The sail would also help in the water, but especially if we had
did
an
this-
issue with the rudders. But
Did this cost money?
Yep.
probably. But
Pro-
the point being, if we can, this thing already had the ability to jump, and if we can launch it high enough to catch a wind tunnel, and then deploy the sails,
And then hopefully we don't
Jailbird-
land on anyone.
yeah, we still have these charms, and Azora, pulls her out.
Okay.
We tried, Jailbird and I got it rigged up so we could, put one of the charms in the Nowhere itself, and
Okay, alright, okay. Great.
it
Tomorrow...
can't fly under its own power, but we can ride the wind channels in this.
Aegis looks
Potentially.
quite
We
annoyed.
haven't tried any
Aegis-
of this.
Aegis looks kind of annoyed and uncomfortable and then says, "Alright, I'm going to... Tomorrow, we're gonna go and have a word with those monks. You paid for this, it better work, because that is company money. So if this crashes and burns, you're paying me back in the afterlife."
Yeah, sure thing, Chief. I'm sure I'll see you there.
Yeah, and while we've paid up for it, we may as well use it so it doesn't go to waste, right? So it doesn't go to waste. So
That
I'm...
sounds financially advisable to me.
Okay, I'm gonna go check that all the seatbelts are working, and tomorrow I'm gonna go and tell Keys that we're gonna go and try and negotiate with the monks. I'm sure he'll appreciate that our flying car can let us do that.
It's not
We
so much a
should
flying
probably test
car
to
as
make
it
sure
is-
they can deploy. I don't think we've even tested that.
Well, there's no real way to test without just doing it.
Azora,
Well, we could
tomorrow,
deploy
while I'm
and
going to
close them on
speak
the
with
ground.
Keys, you're going to go and buy some parachutes. Good ones.
What are parachutes?
Parachutes exist, I've decided.
They do.
Azora hasn't seen them. They don't exist in
They're
Grimwood.
like large umbrellas.
Umbrellas.
Oh,
Axe thought they
Is
were
it going to be rainy
blanket.
on the battlefield?
Oh no.
They're big sheets that they slow you when you're falling down.
Which is kind of
Oh,
what we're
like
going to
the
do with this
gliding
thing.
equipment
We're
we
not
can-
really
yeah.
going to be flying. We're going to be making a controlled descent.
Great. Love it.
It's sort of just a scaled up version of what I do most days.
Okay. Just we're not gonna die tomorrow. At least we're not gonna die from the falling.
If we do, we do together, Chief.
Aw.
It's not
Um,
encouraging.
I'm probably just as a heads up. I would rather end sooner rather than later.
Right, that makes sense. So, do we want to end on the flight plan then?
Yeah.
That
I'm
sound
fine.
good? End the session? Have it be a short one?
Sure. And
Okay.
tomorrow
Yeah.
we do the big end.
That's right. Tomorrow.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
tomorrow.
think next session definitely would be last session, I think, for sure.
Oh, you definitely?
yeah,
Okay.
I
I
think
could
so.
see it being 2, depending on how things go with the
Depending on
months.
how things go, yeah. So yeah, we'll end it here as a short penultimate peril.
Penultimate peril.
Also, fun trivia, since we have a week, if we do drills, we keep our benefit from drills for
And
a
bolster.
week. So I can boost us if we do drills, we can get boosted up with you can only have 3 at a time, but there's also I can only give
And
2
you
other
can
people.
have a bolster.
Yeah.
We can be
So we
so
can have some-
prepared.
So, bonds? Any bonds advance?
I don't
No.
think so, no.
No.
Yeah. This is very much a
Bonds
sort of
don't matter
calm
anymore.
before the storm thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
I think
think
the only
I
one,
might
the
have
only one, the
NPC
only
one with
Bond
Reyna.
moment I did, yeah, is Reyna just going, "No, I'm sticking around. I like
Yeah.
it. I like it here."
And I
But
think seeing a more of the like somewhat not heavy, but like just seeing that side of Reyna with her personal life and her kind of like cold feelings as to her sister. Like
So, Aegis, did you endanger yourself to make a plan succeed?
Don't believe I did. No, didn't I?
Jesus.
I mean,
man.
actually, I have put ourselves forward to make a plan succeed later. It's like, yeah, we'll go into big battle.
That's some slow role playing there. Speed it
Uh,
up.
Okay, me and I also got on a boat into a water temple. Me, the leader, instead of delegating others to do it.
No, you had Jailbird get it
Yeah, but I got on it.
with everyone else.
you
But still, I
endangered
still
Jailbird.
endangered
She was
myself.
scared, and you were like, "No, Jailbird,
No.
do it."
You're
What
reaching.
else have
Like,
I
a
done?
good role player wouldn't have to reach. Axe, did you crush someone who stood in your
My
way?
character is a spearman. All he does is
For-
reach.
For once, no, I did not, Ben.
That's unfortunate. Rare miss. Rare miss.
Yeah, yeah, you know, it happens to everyone.
We have slow days. It's fine.
Yeah.
Azora, did you defend those weaker than you?
Yes. I got the whale people to stop doing their plan to like flood the area and like bring a
Great
big whale in.
job.
And yeah, all these people
Great
like I'm gonna
job.
say most people in the area weaker
That's
than me.
awesome.
Thank
You need the XP, so
I do, yeah.
yeah. It's a good thing you failed that supply roll as well.
hmm
All right. So, did we learn something new and important about the world?
We talked a lot about the monks. What
Yeah,
they do, how
Azora
they
did.
do. They
Yeah.
might be
Yeah,
amenable to
about that being
deactivation.
a religious artifact. We also learned about the whale cult.
Yeah, the
and
great
that,
whale.
like,
You
yeah,
have
we
to
learned
call
that
every religious
eventually-
group a cult.
We learned that like we're all gonna get swallowed by a whale someday if we
Yeah.
live long enough.
You don't have to call every religious group a cult.
Zora's
not?
biased.
Did we overcome a notable monster or enemy?
Aegis subscribes to a little religion that he found on the roadside one day, and it's just never come up. He learned about it from 4 drunk old men sitting around a fire from the old country who just talked about the old gods and like.
You know what? Next session on our like way to the giants, way to this religious. Let's get into that. Let's talk about.
Let's
religion.
absolutely not. Let's not.
Did we overcome a notable monster or enemy?
Whale cult.
Whale. The whale religion. That's not a cult.
We defeated the enemy of bureaucracy by making someone from Regents bypass
You know what?
it for our
If you had just let it happen and then fought the secret optional whale boss, then you would have had this. But
our
no,
next
you
part
don't
is going to
get
be
it.
stupider. So
I don't want to fight a whale. That poor whale was just minding its business in the ocean. Then it gets dropped in a swamp.
Considering our next party is likely going to be way stupider, let's promise to trigger to proc every boss fight just by accident.
All the hidden boss fights. Go find Sephiroth and just start fighting him.
That's not fair. My current character is brain damage, and my next character will be my smartest character I've played in Hemlock.
Yeah, but they're also going to be a dumbass compared to a Sora, I think.
No.
Did
no,
we
that's true.
loot a memorable treasure?
No.
How's
Speed
that?
Force.
Well, we did.
What
we
did
got,
we achieve this session? All we've done this session is we went somewhere and told someone, shit's rough, boss.
We got some magic goop, but we like immediately used it.
We did.
Well-
we did loot the treasure of speed.
I got fancy armor, and we got fancy axe.
true.
We beefed up.
You
We
know
got
what?
a newspaper.
Yeah, sure. Take it. And take an XP for playing. Well done.
Nice. Wow, I might hit level 21 next session.
Hell.
I am 2 experience away from level 18. That's... Aegis will finally be old enough to drink.
There's going to be like one last rest point before fighting like the final boss, and Azora's gonna level up, and then M's gonna play Nostria.
Yeah, maybe I would take over Jailbird. She deserves the boost in HP from becoming a PC.
she gets shot the most often. It's
Yeah. How many times she's been on 1 HP like as much as Azora has, who has a move to go on 1
she
HP.
gets hit. Yeah, she gets hit the most often, I think, of all the NPCs.
I'm just gonna say I know
After her, probably Lotus.
I know NPCs don't technically get a last breath roll, but can I just like precedent like please like if she gets hit by like 8, like can she at least get last breath rather than just insta dying?
What, Jailbird?
Or any of our higher levels right now, like
Oh.
they're characters, you know. I don't want them to just instantly die because they have 6 health if they get hit, you know. Like I at least want to give them a fighting chance of a. I have a move too where I can help.
You
'cause-
don't
and
want
say,
you
well,
don't want the next game to just be mass death.
The bloodbath.
and you might ask what happens if you know it's a 7 to 9. I have my move Professional Courtesy. When an ally takes last breath, and I like rushes, I can aid last breath.
Oh wow.
But Death will try to rope me into any bargains involving combat.
So you're just gonna sprint over to the corpse, just like let me in on this.
So anything I would get involved with too. So it's like, granted, it's last session, so it's like.
Well, I mean,
yeah,
I guess as precedent for future major NPCs,
Yeah.
it would make sense. Yeah, I'll think about it. Maybe maybe I'll come up with something. Like if
Thank
they
you.
take lethal damage, like maybe they could give a chance to save them if you think they're pretty important.
And it's like, cause last time around we had like, okay, Lilia was a zombie and Milkshake was Milkshake, but like, you know. And Clinton wasn't getting in fights, so it's like, imagine if we had murdered Clinton, like how
Imagine-
much
yeah.
it could have gone that way right at the
I mean,
start. when-
so like theoretically, you think with the rules you want, if someone had just decided to fucking shoot Clinton in the throat, like assassination attempt during the election. You would have wanted like some way to save him.
Yeah,
That makes
yeah.
sense.
I want like I'm fine with NP. It's one of those things where I feel like if an NPC hits 0 HP in a scenario like a party NPC, I feel like they shouldn't just die. I almost think a fair like they are downed, and maybe
Yeah.
if they get like in a video game,
I
or,
wish
or like
I wish Austin
Fortnite.
agreed with that.
Yeah.
Before
I wish
Swede
Swede.
killed all my
Maybe
NPCs.
It was funny though.
Remember when Myers just died doing
Uh,
laundry?
that was the best.
Oh.
Oh man, that is just like some moves in Dungeon World just are way too high stakes. Like, like that move in the Merchant Prince. If you fail, your employee quits or dies.
Fucking
Oh.
washing clothes by the riverside. Whoops.
It wasn't even a fucking deep river. It was shallow.
Water only needs to be a foot deep to wash you away, Swede.
Although actually, Austin did relent at one point because of the secretary Cheryl, right? Where I failed the role and she just immediately started packing up to leave, and I had King go, wait, no, they'll give you a raise, okay, and hire her back.
She was a good character. I liked her.
She was.
That's right. You always pictured her like Sheska, and I always pictured her like Chrysalis from Moonbeam
Yeah.
City. That was a good show. I'm still sad about Moonbeam City.
It is. Moonbeam City at least had the fucking. God, I'm still always in awe of the goddamn amazing, just the pure creative genius to center that whole episode around fucking bowling ball alley animations.
Yeah.
That's
Right?
so good.
And it's like, I think Rad in the first episode, I feel like you get an idea of the type of character Rad is going to be, but then no, they just go so far into making Rad so pathetic and it works so well.
What do you think about Goth Asuka?
It's really been taken off. I've noticed. And it's like, I mean, fair enough, I guess. I mean,
Right.
yeah, it's cool.
All them young kids have discovered NG.
I mean, I feel like NGE's always been enough of a meme that, like, like Zoomers, even if someone hasn't watched NGE, they know NGE.
Snake,
Like,
how do you
it's
feel
still very
about?
much in the cultural zeitgeist.
Snake? Have you thought about engaging super followers on Twitter?
No.
Snake doesn't
Think
use
about
Twitter
it.
much.
Yeah, that your tweets are are like they're precious.
All I
They're
use Twitter
few.
for is to occasionally say like, "Hey, video's coming along," because I don't care.
Yeah,
to
charge
share what I'm
people to
doing.
see that. That should be Patreon exclusive.
And I
information.
retweet some things.
I remember like one of the most like complimented I've ever been like or ever felt by Snake was just at one point I was talking about King Kong versus Godzilla and Snake just retweeted it to say it was a good thread and I've like I don't know, like the fact that it was on Twitter and Snake never tweets made it feel so meaningful of a compliment.
I think he lurks. Snake, do you lurk?
I lurk, yeah.
Way to go.
It's my thing. I lurk. I see things, and then occasionally.
Do you think we're ever gonna see a day where like the faithful tweet comes out, like Peter Jackson's King Kong remastered, the official game of the movie?
I think it would take a lot. I think if Skull Island didn't do it, and King Kong versus Godzilla hasn't done it, what's gonna do it?
What has to happen to Ubisoft for them to do that? what do they got to go through?
I don't know. A lot, really. It's like
Do you think they'll be like with doing that? Would they have to be down bad to do that, or would they have to like be ridiculously well doing
Who do what? I'm curious what this is
Ubisoft
about.
to re-release Peter Jackson's King Kong, the official game of the movie, in HD remaster?
No, I don't think there's any amount of down bad to do that. I think that has to be they're flying ridiculously high is when they make a move like that. Because that's so like opulent to do.
You know that would set E3 on fire.
the Michael Ansel like recovery tour
Yeah,
after
the
everything he
redemption
did.
arc, the Ansel redemption arc.
Would Peter Jackson be involved in the remake? Or
I think
re-release
so.
or-
No, I
Is-
think
so
no.
is this like a
best
remake or
timeline.
a-
Best timeline is Peter Jackson's comes out and says, "Yeah, that whole like documentary like behind the scenes stuff, it was all lies. Ansel didn't do anything. I did it. Me. I designed the game, and we're bringing it back."
Okay, consider
Taking back control.
they take a new crack at it, right? But instead of like Peter Jackson's King Kong, the movie, the game this time, Guillermo del Toro's King Kong, the movie, the game.
Boo! No, Peter Jackson's King Kong, the
Wow.
official game of the movie.
Okay, I would
You
like to see
can't-
Guillermo del Toro's King Kong.
It's already perfect. Peter Jackson's King Kong, the official game of the movie, is already perfect. You just need
Okay,
to
let's
remaster
just
it.
ignore this Ubisoft game as a movie. I would
You
like
are
to
not
see.
asking me to ignore Peter Jackson's King Kong, the official game of the movie.
Fair. Okay, sorry. Did that ever get finished?
Yes,
Concom?
it did.
Nice.
Yeah.
We're talking about old Concom's content.
I want to talk about games that are just peak monkey. I mean, you can't get more monkey than that, right?
Ook, ook, do you play the monkey?
You do
Yeah.
in several levels.
It's even
Hmm.
got an
Okay, but
alternative
please
ending.
confirm for me, Guillermo
And you
del
do?
Toro's King
There's
Kong
an
would be
alternative
raw.
ending. Yeah, they changed the ending to King Kong. They get to unlock it. Secret ending where Kong just crawls back down and gets on a boat.
He
fucking
pilots the
epic.
boat.
It's so monkey. I love it. Like there aren't any other monkey games out there. And I guess
Actually,
there's
Ben,
Ape Escape, but no, Ape Escape's anti-monkey.
Ben, I have a question.
What?
Which would you prefer, Guillermo del Toro's King Kong or Guillermo del Toro's Godzilla?
Guillermo del Toro's King Kong.
There is fucking Ancestors. That's a monkey game.
I suppose.
But it frames it as like, oh, we're heading to man, rather than being about the
Far Cry
monkey.
Primal would have been a better game if it was a lot more monkey.
Ancestors is just not as good as Tokyo Jungle. It has to be
No,
said.
it isn't. I've played it. It's
Yeah.
very boring. Tokyo
Tokyo
Jungle cuts
Jungle-
the fat.
Tokyo Jungle cuts the fat. Tokyo Jungle is absolutely a purely is something that can only be done in video games, and it's a meditation on the philosophy of evolution. You know, it's like, damn, like that cuts to the point of it. That's the best Darwin evolution based game. It's better than Evo. Better than
I'm not sure if I can agree with that, but you
it's
know.
better. It's
Maybe
better than Spore.
4.6 billion year journey. Not
It's
better,
better than
Theory
4.6 billion year journey. It's better than Evo. It's better than Spore. It's better than Ancestors. It's the best Darwinism game.